Hello everyone and welcome to Unit 2. In this unit there are 5 lessons and I want to give you a few tips and things to think about with each of those lessons. So the 5 lessons in Unit number 2 are rhythm and meter, melody and phrasing, musical expression, musical timbre, and then finally texture and musical form. So let's go through each of those lessons and just think about a few things. So in the first one, rhythm and meter, we'll talk about beat, musical pulse, and then how our minds group beats together, and that we have a phenomenon that's called meter. And think of musical meter as grouping music into groups of two beats or 4 beats. It's really the same, two or 4. And that's called duple meter. Or our mind groups beats into groups of 3, and that's called triple meter. So in this lesson, you're going to learn how to do that, and I take you through some listening examples, and we think about the beat and the pulse and how things are grouped together. You have your first listening assignment in this lesson, and it would be typical on a listening assignment that you may need to listen to items a few times before you make your response. There's also a practice page, a duple and triple practice that you can check out, and I recommend that you do that for some extra practice. The second lesson on melody and phrasing just looks at melodic elements and how phrases are created in music, and think about whether it's shorter phrases or longer phrases. The third lesson is on expression in music. This would have to do with things like musical dynamics. The fourth lesson really I think is the most difficult. This is on instrument timbres. This is where you're deciding what instrument is playing. Is it a flute or a clarinet, an oboe, trumpet, French horn, etc., etc. And this is one, if you don't have a background in music, that you'll want to practice. You'll see in this lesson that there are some practice examples, including a practice quiz that you can take through an outside web page. And I recommend that you spend as much time practicing in this lesson as you can. This is a topic that keeps coming back in units later on in the class, just determining which instrument is playing. And you may want to think about at first which instrument group is it. Is it the woodwind group, the brass group, or the percussion group? And then from there, which specific instrument is playing. And there are some pairings that are really difficult to determine if you haven't thought about this before. For example, was it a clarinet that was playing in an example, or a saxophone? Or was it a French horn or a trumpet? And that's just a difficult concept. And so my tip is to do the practice exercises and to think about these things quite a bit, and to spend a good enough amount of time so that you have a basic understanding here on this first lesson here in Unit 2. The last lesson in this unit is on musical texture and musical form. Think of musical form as just a larger way that we group music together. You might think of words. A rhythm pattern might be a word, or a sentence. That might be a phrase. And a form is the way that we have paragraphs in music. So how a longer form. At the end of this unit, you have the Unit 2 wrap up, and in the wrap up essay, you're going to compare the first movement from Beethoven's 5th Symphony and the first movement from Beethoven's 7th Symphony. Pay careful attention to the prompts, and carefully craft your essay. You're comparing those two things. Remember to use the listening on the musical plane, so digging deep and thinking about the musical elements that are there. You can certainly talk about the expressive elements that you hear in that music, but you want to always pair those expressive elements with the musical elements, and that just creates a much better essay and much better thinking about music. So enjoy your time in Unit 2. If you have any questions, you can send those to me via email or post to the FAQ in Sakai forums. Thanks.